Hey y'all, welcome to the Legacy Podcast. I am Tim Bratz. Today I'm sitting down with Sean Holmes, who owns Nectar Eyewear out here in Charleston, South Carolina. And so Sean's was in another mastermind with me several years ago, got to meet him, got linked up here in Charleston, bought some of his sunglasses a few years ago, and still using them to today. They're awesome sunglasses at a very reasonable price point, and probably the highest quality at one of the lowest price point sunglasses I've ever had. And so we're sitting down with Sean to talk a little bit about how he's built his business, right? What is some of the learning curves he's faced as he's been on his entrepreneurial journey, and kind of where he's going from here. So let's dive in with Sean. Let's hear a little bit about Nectar and his journey. Sean, what's up, buddy?
What's up, dude?
Welcome to the Legacy Podcast, man.
Appreciate
Dude, excited for you to be here. We've been in some masterminds and stuff together.
Yep.
And got to know each other a couple years ago, realizing we were both here in Charleston. And you got a cool business. You got a cool sunglass business. It seems like a really cool, trendy kind of business, right?
Yeah.
And what's fun about it is, like, I'm not in retail, I'm in real estate, and I love learning about other businesses. I love learning about, like, your growth trajectory, your business, you know, like lessons learned. And I think a lot of those pillars of business transcend industry, transcend product or service or whatever it is. So I think it's cool to say, oh, hey, you're doing this in the sunglass industry. Maybe there's a key takeaway or something that I can learn from, adapt it, and put it into the real estate industry. And you know, I do things like, I don't know, structure deals certain ways in the real estate side of things, or certain distribution or whatever in this other industry, and then you can do the same thing, or say, hey, I can tweak that and put it in the eyewear industry. And so that's why I'm excited to learn from entrepreneurs who aren't in the same industry as me. I think there's some really cool takeaways and stuff from that. So, dude, I think what would be fun is let's talk through your entrepreneurial journey. I want to know, like, how you got started. How did you become an entrepreneur? Was it in your DNA, or did you kind of like fall into it? And I want to hear a little bit how you like started Nectar.
Sure. Yeah, I think a lot of people say, like, oh, I used to sell lemonade. Like, I think every kid did that at a certain point.
We all hustled a little bit, right?
I think in my neighborhood, I was like, this is not working. Like, I'd rather go play instead of doing this. But for me, I just going back, I played baseball my entire life into college at a Division I level, and that's all I knew. I really loved it, enjoyed it, got to that level and realized, like, all right, I can't become a pro, and realized it was just a really tough filtration system. The reality was, like, I need to figure something out. And at that time in my junior year of college, I met a guy through a mutual friend of mine, and he was an entrepreneur at that time, doing squeeze pages, affiliate marketing. When everybody opened emails back then, it was like easy. It was like 90% open rate.
Yeah.
And he would build lists and teach people how to make money online, sales video stuff. And we were at a bar one day. I just remember this light bulb, like, going off, like, I need to figure this out. And kind of begged him to shadow, intern, whatever I could. And
is this in Virginia?
he was in Atlanta. He came up and just partied all weekend and was buying stuff for us, to the point where I was uncomfortable. Like, dude, stop buying stuff for me. This is ridiculous. He was younger. He was probably 29 at the time and doing really well financially in his career, and just begged him to work with him. I was like, dude, I want to figure this out. And at a certain point, he was like, all right, if you move to Atlanta, I'll teach you everything I know. And really offered that to my best friend John and I, who they were in the Marines together. So we dropped out of college and moved down there. I just knew that I wasn't going to be a professional baseball player. I didn't want to do urban planning, which I picked as a major, which was kind of cool, but not really a passion by any means. I just thought I was going to be a pro at 18. And as my career developed, I'm like, man, I'm just wasting money at college with a degree that I probably don't want to use. I should probably pivot and figure something out. So moved to Atlanta.
So you dropped out what year?
2009.
2000. What year in school were you?
I was going into my senior year.
Going into senior year.
So my parents hated that.
Yeah, and you're like, hey, burn the boats.
I just, like, I had an opportunity. I figured, I'd rather go learn. And I think I think I learned more in that 6-month period with him feeding me books and, like, just the things that I was interested in.
It's amazing how, like, if you just follow the passion, man, you actually want to learn, and then you go down this, this positive spiral of, like, the momentum starts building, and you start learning, and you start diving deeper into the books and start to learn.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, versus being told what to go and learn at school, of like, hey, you need this.
Memorize this.
Yeah,
It's
memorize this, and here's all these other subjects that you'll never friggin' use. And dude, I remember in calculus class, I was like, when am I ever gonna? I asked the teacher, I was like, when am I ever gonna need this? In case you become a calculus teacher. I was like, fucking, like, get me out of here.
Yeah, and it's just school to me is
Sorry.
it's ridiculous to me that you know somebody with an idea and profitable business can't get a loan, but they give these kids that are 18 years old $150,000 that are going to blow it on Natty Light in college.
It's a scam, dude.
Unbelievable. But so in Atlanta at that time, he was like, you need to. I can't just like teach you, keep giving you books. You need to come up with an idea. And at that time, we didn't really think about it. We're like, well, what do we know? I had a personal trainer for almost 4 years in college. We were kind of into working out. Like, let's do a quicker P90X. Like, no one has an hour and a half. Like, I know we can use interval training, did a bunch of research, and made that type of workout video. It's super embarrassing looking back. But we just needed it as, like, hey, let's build a website. Like, how can we do this? And we
Instead of 8-minute abs, like 6-minute abs, right? Yeah,
just,
I love that.
And kind of learned going in, my best friend John was military, structure background. He needed that structure, and as you know, entrepreneurship is the lack thereof.
Yeah, very unstructured.
Especially in the beginning, and he was just like losing it, like couldn't deal with it, wanted safety and security. And about 8 months in, he was like, man, I don't know if I can do this. And we didn't, it wasn't a passion, and it failed. And I think to me, it was a couple of things. Like it taught me like, one, the confidence, like, hey, I can do this. Like I can whiteboard things out, get things done, and make a plan to get them done, versus it being a pie in the sky, like, oh, what if we made this cool idea? No, like,
that's cool how you saw yourself thriving on it, right?
Yeah.
And like leaning, oh man, this is really fun. And somebody else is like exact same situation, but just doesn't meet their behavioral traits.
Yeah,
you know?
he just wasn't built for it in his mentality. But I got like this extra bit of confidence, like, whoa, I can really do this. Like, it's doable. You just got to do the work, and you got to plan it and figure out what do you need to outsource, what can you do yourself, and timeline things. And at the same time, it was like a big failure too. I was like, I told my family, I'm moving to Atlanta. I'm gonna start this company, and it like didn't do anything. You know, people wanted a milkshake that wants them skinny, and not, hey, come try our workout. So after that, I kind of spent the next few months like, all right, how do I build this in? And my old co-founder had reached out saying, hey, you did this, I want to start a company. And I said, I'm in, as long as we do something that we are both really into. And the idea around the sunglasses was, we always wanted to go surf for a living and be a pro surfer. Well, oh, you get to travel and go surf for a living? That's the best life ever. Let's make a product that resembles that lifestyle. And at that time, we produced college party shades. They were very low value, $20 shades. And at that point, there weren't a ton of competitors in that space. You had the Maui Gyms of the world, Ray-Bans, Oakleys, really high-end products that we thought, let's make an accessible product at a price and something that's somewhat throwaway. It shouldn't be a burden to wear a nice pair of shades. It should be an asset to your outfit or venture and enhance your viewing experience.
Right.
So that was like the beginnings of Nectar, was kind of party shades in that world of colleges and fraternities working in that world, as well as action sports. We were sponsoring surfers and snowboarders and skaters. And then over the years, we kind of evolved more into like less, like we're not in Southern California, and that's where the pro surfers live. And if you're not in that circle, you're kind of not in it. You really got to have somebody over there that's in tune with all the contests, who's the next up and coming kid that's really, really good. And we kind of pivoted back to like, we're an outdoor adventure company for, you know, we're not professionals, we're just backyard badasses. You know, we want to make a product that's suitable for those conditions and for those adventures at a high level, but also just the more casual approach to like people that like to go hiking casually or on boats or fishing. Like, we're not the most tech company, but we make a product that can suit all of those things. So where we're at today is really, you know, I'm proud of where the brand is at. We went from trying to be everything to everybody and pulled it back to, what is our identity? Well, we're from the East Coast. We know that Southern California gets all the love in that world, this dreamy California vibe, and we went through an agency and they helped us really identify, like, fuck California. Like, we grew up here, we built this country from, you know, 1607. Like, we should be proud of where we're from and highlight all the nuances that are amazing from people that have heard Charleston's great. It has this aura about it. So let's give it the pedestal it deserves and dig our flagpole and say, hey, we're from here and we're going to highlight the areas that we love. And that gave us a really cool identity to one, say no to people that are traveling to Tahiti and they want to shoot our product. And in the past, we'd do that, but I don't know anybody who's been to Tahiti, really. Maybe 2 people. So how do we make it relevant for our audience? And it's been really cool to see that play out, because it was a hard pivot from from everything to everybody to, hey, we're only focusing on East Coast content, highlighting the marshes and the mountains of the East Coast and not out west, and that gave our team a really good direction as well.
Well, I think that's it's so key because you've seen people jump on like Shark Tank, and you're like, oh well, what percentage of the population wears sunglasses? 97%, and so 97% of 8 billion people is our market, right? And you're like, what the hell are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
As soon as somebody says there's this many people and this many people wear and that's the whole market, it's like no. Anybody who's been in business long enough realizes that like niche is what makes you rich, right? Mm-hmm. Niche is where really the value is, and going deep into that and being known as the brand or the coach or the go-to influencer in that space or whatever that looks like is really the key to that. And it's scary, right? It's scary to say, hey, no, I'm going to turn down sales somewhere else so that way I can go deeper into my brand over here, and with the hope of then becoming known as that brand in this market that everybody goes to for sunglasses or for whatever the product is. And so did your sales take a hit when you made that pivot?
A little bit.
Short term?
I think it was just as tough to like roll that out and to kind of change the visual of who we were and how we were speaking to our customers. I think it took some time to kind of, for our customers that were already previous customers, the email list, to really understand what we were doing. I tried to explain it to my dad as like, it's kind of like when you see someone dressed up for the first time, you're like, whoa, I didn't know you could look that good. And it's like just Nectar in the right clothes that fit us and who we were. So not a dramatic change, but just enough to really keep our identity needed to be more secure, because we were just kind of all over the place for a while. And it's tough because eyewear can be worn from a mom blogger to a skate kid that's 14. There's a big variance there of like, who are we actually targeting now? And it helped just everything kind of reel it in, just a bit more focus and drive down that lane versus going after everybody.
And so what would you say is the brand today? Like who is the avatar for Nectar Eyewear? So
for us, I mean, really kind of down the middle, men, women, but our target is a 33-year-old woman that has a small child, likes to still go to music festivals, likes to go on plans or trips annually with their family and with their spouse or partner, and they still like to travel and be outside and experience nature. And that's kind of their lifestyle and who we go after.
Why female instead of male if you're split down the line 50-50?
We still do male. So male and female at 33 is kind of what we go after, 33, 35-year-olds. That's where we see the biggest sales for us. They have enough income where it makes sense to go after them, where this is a disposable income. At our price point, which is $49 to $69, this is still somewhat of an impulse buy for them. And we've seen the most success at that level. And we were going after college kids that just don't think they have that perception of like what money is yet. We need to show them like, hey, you could buy one pair of Ray-Bans and one beer, or you could buy one pair of Nectars and 2 cases of beer. And you just don't buy, like, how do we? So it was always a battle to try to make that make sense to that age demographic. We still sell a lot to 18 to 24, but our biggest range is that 24 to 35 range.
Interesting. And so how has your marketing changed, and through what mediums are you really like pursuing, and how have you like figured that out, how to reach out to that demographic?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this for 12 years and it's evolved quite a bit. What we've seen, and hurts my soul, is when we make a really high quality brand video that would give me chills. When we put that as a paid ad, it just doesn't get, no one watches it. They just scroll right by it. And
Jed, how does that feel? Hey, what the best performing stuff is what?
Yeah, iPhone videos.
It's like you just kind of try to nurture a little bird out of the wing, out of the nest, and it just falls straight down, and then there's a bird that just takes off that you never thought ever would.
Yeah. This one doesn't even have wings and it's flying, right? The other one was like majestic and just.
Yeah, so like the video side of it, I think it's, we're always evolving with like what are people engaging with, and now it's
so is it a lot through social media?
A lot of social media. I think that's where people are influenced by, and finding the right influencers is a challenge. If you can imagine, if it's a female with a lot of followers and they're attractive, it's typically dudes who follow them, a lot of men, and they're promoting a female product to a lot of men, and there's friction there. There's not as much direct response.
Great point.
We do see a lot of like, yeah, that's great brand exposure, but for us, we want that direct response. We want to see sales and traction and website clicks, and worth that investment, because we had a challenge of finding the right influencers, who's really influencing people for the right reasons, and that's what we look for when we're qualifying who we work with. And we've seen from a content perspective just the very casual UGC stuff do the best. One example is a kid I've worked with that helping with his golf shirt company. We went out to Kiowa, this golf course here, and just helping with content with a drone, and one of his caddy buddies came up who was a little tipsy, and I just gave him a pair of shades and videoed on cinematic mode, and he tried them on with a very authentic reaction, and it became one of our best ads. It was just him purely reacting to it. It's not an ad. This was very real, and that's what we're trying to recreate, is like when we work with influencers, telling them like, we don't want an unboxing video. They can't be your new favorite shades when you just tried them on out of the box. So like, go to your friend and have them try them on. How do you capture something real that's gonna let people stop their thumbs for 1 second and know that this is authentic? So authenticity is really important to us, and that's what we've been trying to curate, and it's a challenge. You can give people the right scope and direction, and they'll give you a video that's completely different, and you're like, well, we're just going to move on to the next one, because you don't have that talent. It is a talent to be able to go capture that.
I think that authenticity, you were saying it as you were speaking, and that was the word that hit me in the head, and then you mentioned it. But like, that authenticity is really what's resonating, I think, right now. There is so much nonsense. There's so much fake Lambos and rented jets and rented watches and all this other stuff that's out on social media, and like, that appeals to the people who don't know any better, right? That appeals to the kids who are 15 to 25 years old, who thinks that that's real, right? They don't know they don't know that that's all fake, that it's all staged. It's all right. It's all just nonsense. And anybody who like has been around the block just even a couple of times can see right through that stuff. But you still have like the fake influencers and all that speak ingenuinely, and that's obviously not who you're catering to. And so it's like, what is the authenticity? The let me not be the dude, I get, that's like my favorite compliment that I get is like, Tim, dude, you're so authentic. Like, you are exactly in real person who you are on social media. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm just not that there's anything wrong with having like a sports car of some sort, but like, dude, I just drive a Jeep because I friggin' love my Jeep, and I love the functionality of it, and I love being able to take the doors off and just kind of hang out, and I love being able to hit a friggin' curb and not worry about it, and you know what I mean? And so that's just me. That's who I am. That's who my vibe is, and that's who you get no matter what. And that's, I think, cool to see with what you guys are doing, is just like, I want to hang out with real, genuine, authentic people. In a world of all these phonies, like, it's so different to then actually have somebody who's genuine, and people, it really resonates with people, man. It really, people gravitate towards that stuff way more than the fake stuff, is what I'm finding over the past several years.
Yeah, I wish I had more confidence. I just don't like talking to the camera typically, or like in front of it, but that's something that was important to me, is that like, I want to be authentic. I walk people to the door. Like, how do we have that representation come through our brand? And it's how we treat people and our customers, and they're important to us. Our industry is dominated by Essilors, Luxotticas of the world that own 75 to 200 brands, and they know all the data. They don't give a shit about their customers like we do. We really care about them, and that translates from how we talk to them and treat them. And we have to acquire customers, so they're important to us, and we want to make sure that they feel that as well. We're a big brand; you're just a number to them. And I think going back to like the niche thing, I think that there's so few things that can differentiate in terms of eyewear. It's a low barrier of entry. You can go make some tomorrow. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges in getting through that space, but ultimately you can get a product. But the brand is so important that it speaks to people and they resonate with it. And they're not going to resonate with it if you don't have an authentic approach or a niche that really defines who you are. And that's what we stay focused on, is really trying to treat everybody the best, because that's the one area that they might leave and go to someone else. Like, how do we get them to drive loyalty and come back and buy again? And I really believe that's through being authentic and treating them well.
I agree 100%. When you mentioned that, the big brands that own, or the big company that owns like all the brands, I've heard that before. I think there was a documentary on it or something. And it's like they own, I don't know, it's some insane number, right? Like 90% or 85% of the market or something is owned by one company or something. And so they control all the manufacturing. Do you have to buy like wholesale from them, or are there other companies that?
No, there's a lot of different factories. They do have like their own factories. They've monopolized a lot of the industry in terms of the retail space, which is it's like selling to a surf shop or outdoor shop. Their footprint there is 90%. So to get in is more of a challenge. It's a space game. Is there space for us to come in? And it's a situation where you have to go in and really sell them. Like, what is your slowest moving SKU or brand? Can we buy the rest and get us a space so we can create money for you instead of you looking cool selling this one brand that sells 1 or 2 a month?
Bro, that's a great method. That's a great method of solving their problem for them. You know, it's like, you know, because if you're a business owner, you're always like, oh, let me solve my problem. Here's my issue. When somebody brings you a solution for your problem, as opposed to being like, oh, how can I be of value to, like, I get messages from people, it's like, let me know if I can do anything for you. Well, that's just like another thing that I have to think about of how you can then help me or whatever. Like, if somebody comes to me and is like, dude, I bet you're struggling with insurance because the rates have quadrupled in the past 2 years. Here's a great resource for you. Call this guy, do this. Have you thought about doing a captive insurance, whatever else it is? It's like, dude, you're bringing me a solution along with answering my problem, already knowing it, and it's one less thing I have to think it through or try to find. And you guys, that's a great approach to going into these different stores. Let me buy out the bottom 10% of whatever, and let me give you these shades and see if they sell better, and let me just prove it to you. That's a great value proposition.
Yeah, and it's tough. You see some companies that they'll have free, you know, flyers. It's like, well, our retail stand can generate you income here, or you can have flyers here. Like, do you want to make money, or could you put these somewhere else on the wall or somewhere else? So it's a space play, and it's a challenge just because I see retail as a great opportunity to support the e-commerce. They both help each other. We might hit you with ads and you never buy, but then you see it in a shop and it clicks, like, oh, I'm going to buy these because you saw the ads, you just weren't ready then. So they both kind of go hand in hand, but they're both very different business models and both super hard in our space. Yeah.
And so what would you say is the split between retail sales and e-commerce sales?
We do about 60% e-commerce.
60% e-com, 40% retail.
Yeah.
Is your e-com, is that higher margin because it's all, right?
Yep.
So that's probably what you're leaning towards anyways and trying to push a little bit further. But it's got that relevance of being able to see it and feel it and touch it and try them on, right? Versus hoping that they fit and hoping, you know, and all the returns and all that kind of stuff that happen from e-commerce. I would assume there's a little bit of a give and take there.
Yeah, we focused on kind of independent retailers like mom and pops, meaning single locations. And now that we've kind of slowly gotten some mid-regional ones that have 5 to 15 shops, I've been on this mentality of like, man, I need to whale hunt. Like, I want to get a Costco. And I got close with Costco.
Like an REI or something like that, right?
So that's my next goal going forward with the retail side is like, that could change our business forever. We get a Costco-sized company who orders 75,000 units at a really great, you know, margin for us and an opportunity from a branding perspective to be out there.
Do you make? We don't have to get into exact financials, but whatever you want to talk about. But like I would think from a Walmart, like all I hear from Walmart is like they just have you in a headlock and they beat the piss out of you and until you get to a point where you're losing money. But it's a loss leader for your brand because now you're in Walmart. Now you can say you're in Walmart, and now you can go and charge, you know, the store across the street a bigger margin and make your money over there just because you're there, right? And the relevance is there, and then you get the hell out of Walmart once your brand's big enough, and you just go e-commerce or something. Is that is there enough margin with the big box retailers to even? It
all varies. I think Walmart's probably the toughest in terms of margin. They'll just continue to, you know, use their leverage against you from a price standpoint. Costco,
and I'm just saying, but like they're not even your brand anyways. But I'm just saying, like, are all big box retailers like that? You know?
They are, and they're everywhere in between. You know, you might find some that give you great opportunities and some that will test you and push you down and on your margin. But you have to analyze those situations. Is it worth getting an REI? Most likely, if we got an REI, that'd be huge for our brand from exposure, alignment with what we do and outdoor. And is it worth that and all the headaches? Because we've sold into Free People years ago, and that was like, I would need an employee just to manage that one account. That's how intense it is, from onboarding to delivery and all of the things that come in that. They're going to ping you for any little thing that you do late. The pallet's not perfect. All these things that get chargebacks. So like, you have to be on it 100%. So yeah, we would need somebody like full-time doing one big box store whenever we do land that. But I love that kind of stuff.
So I love it, man. And I think one of the things we were talking offline of like that you're really, really good at is I want to get into the product development, but we're going to do that on part 2 of this.
Cool.
What I'd like to close out this episode with is, what does the next 24 to 36 months look like? And you kind of teased that.
Yeah.
What is the path forward? What exactly is the bottleneck or the connection or the resource or whatever. And who knows? Maybe there's somebody watching this who has a connection that can make an introduction for you into one of those big box retailers. But is that the goal for the next, let's call it 24 to 36 month outlook?
I would say, yeah, the goal is to land one big box, maybe 2 mid-regionals that have 15 plus stores and integrate into them. From the e-commerce side, I really want to be able to get us in a better position to scale. So I think we have a really cool partnership we're about to kick off with a company that's going to take a big piece of our marketing and elevate everything. I think when we look at the size of Charleston, maybe the talent pool here, I've always tried to have internal, controlling over what we're doing marketing-wise. There's always a disconnect. An example would be if you give your email marketing to an agency, they're using your content, doing the best they can with it, using your brand guideline, the voice, and it's always been okay when we've tried to outsource certain things. With this one, these guys really specialize in content. How do we elevate this? Because there's no reason why we can't be printing money like a Blenders is doing out west. We're going to do it on the East Coast and really focus in on our niche. And with the right team and talent and processes in place, I think we have the ability to build that foundation and start pressing into the spend to make e-com really our strongest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's such a visual brand, right? It's like it's got this lifestyle aspect. That's the kind of stuff that people are following on social media, anyways. And so, I would see, or I could see how like the social media side, Instagram, and all the images and the videos and the lifestyle kind of interaction really highlight this. So having a good marketing team behind you that can do that, man, I think would make all the difference.
Yeah, I think looking back historically, we were able to get a pretty decent return on ad spend with a kind of subpar strategy and subpar, execution, where like a lot of it kind of fell on me to drive that, and that's not really my specialty. I think with a great strategy and a great team, and finding the right influencers to partner with and be able to negotiate on a high level that they're going to manage for us, I think all those things firing in the right direction is going to improve what we were doing a year ago and beyond that, and really get us to a point where we can really start growing and finding those winning ads and lean into them and really have a team that can run that for me so I can focus on the other stuff.
Well, I mean, it's a constant, like we're running ads all the time, and you're always split testing. It's always A/B testing. All right, this one works a little bit better. Scrap that one. Let's try another one.
Yeah.
And you just go back and forth nonstop. And people think, oh, I just need to find the right ad, and then I'm good to go and I'm set for life. It's like, no, it's a constantly changing and updating, and the algorithm changes on the for Facebook and then Instagram, and it's not the same for either one, even though it's owned by the same company. And it's like all these moving parts, man.
It's almost like, kind of wanted to touch on like the beginning of my journey when I did play baseball, and this is something that I've carried over. Is looking back, like I didn't go to school for business. I played a sport and really focused on that. I like thinking back, like I didn't use anything from baseball. I do miss it a lot. But what I did kind of translate over into business, which I didn't know, I was doing it naturally, was the ability to mentally, my approach to business is very similar to baseball. When you're hitting, like, you have to go up confidently. And if you were to go your whole career and you got 3 hits out of every 10 at-bats, you'd be a Hall of Fame hitter. You failed 7 times. So baseball is designed for you to fail. It's really hard to hit a round ball with a round bat square. And if you're 3 for 10, I always knew I had another at-bat. And I think in business, kind of steadying the ship and knowing that, like, mentally taking things that are negatives and being able to flip that and say, you know what, let's make this an opportunity. And I think that's been a benefit of me continuing to do what I do, is being able to mentally say, all right, this isn't the end of the world, because it can easily go downwards, slippery slope. And it's a challenge to keep that switch positive, but that's allowed me to steady the ship over the years and not go haywire one direction or the other, because I know that, like, hey, we're as good as our next at bat, and tomorrow's going to come and we can do different things the next day and learn from that. But I don't think you learn without some sort of failure. And
you got that long-term vision, right? And the expectation that there's going to be 7 out of 10 losses, right, for the 3 W's that you get. And that's okay, and that's Hall of Fame numbers, right, in a lot of industries, and can be here too. So, like, everything's okay. You can maintain the long-term vision, and then the L's and the no's are just, it's part of doing business, right? It's part of the process, right?
Fueling the wins.
Gets you that much closer to the wins, right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome, man. Well, dude, I appreciate you being here. It's super cool to see what you're doing with the brand. I can't wait to see how it shakes out for you over the next couple of years. If anybody's here watching this and you know a regional mid-tier retailer who is an outdoor or carries sunglasses, specifically I would say like in the Carolinas, the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic region of the U.S., and you can make some intros, like make sure you reach out. It'd be awesome to connect Sean and be a direct connection here. He's got a fantastic product, and we're going to dive into that on the next episode of the Legacy Podcast. Hey, some really, really good takeaways from Sean and his journey with Nectar. He's got a lot of cool stuff going on, and I really like what his story is and what his brand stands for. I think they're doing everything in the right way, in the right direction, and they're poised for a lot of growth over the course of the next few years. So make sure you're following him, make sure that you're checking out what they have going on. I love supporting small businesses, so if you have the opportunity to pick up some sunglasses or buy some sunglasses as a gift for somebody, it's a great brand, great quality at a very reasonable price point for high quality sunglasses. So definitely check him out. I'd love to hear some of your takeaways. Put it in the comment section below. And if you would, like our video, subscribe to our channel. And until next week, I'll see you on the Legacy Podcast.